Queensbury and Glens Falls, New York give off a historic aura, one that harkens back to a time of American growth. And while it may not look or feel like Silicon Valley out here, it is home to a company on the cutting edge of its industry. That would be Ergo Robotic Solutions, fulfilling today's robotics needs while manufacturing here at home.
We're hitting the road in search of America's most interesting companies to answer one question: why are you proud to be made in America?
So Alan, we're a bit off the beaten path. This is definitely much colder than we're used to in Texas, lots of snow, but this is a really unique region and really special to Ergo. So tell me a bit about the community and about the Adirondacks region.
As you mentioned it, we're right on the edge of the Adirondacks here. And as you can see, we get snow around here. So
just a bit.
Things get a little cold, but we're hardy people around here. We know how to handle it well, and I think that's why we're really well suited for this kind of work.
Why is this region so perfect for Ergo Robotics and the kind of work you do?
It's nice in many ways because for me personally, this is where I grew up, so I love this area in general. We're in close proximity to Saratoga Springs. We're right here in a beautiful city of Glens Falls in the greater Glens Falls area. And we also have Lake George just to the north of us. All just a wonderful, beautiful area. Nice thing on top of all that is we're just a few hours away from some major metro areas where a lot of business is happening. We're also, we're able to kind of get away from it all, but at the same time we're close enough we can service some really big customers.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, you're strategically placed in a triangle of major metropolitan areas. How does that strategically help Ergo Robotics in reaching new customers?
Well, it's perfect because it makes it easy for people to get a hold of us and easy for us to service them. We're just within arm's reach, so we're right around the corner essentially.
So a lot of your clients come to you with really unique needs. How do you begin to understand those needs as you develop their solution?
First thing that I do is ask what they're lifting.
Right.
Dimensions, weight. I'll ask for site conditions. We'll ask for them to send us drawings of the glass, drawings of the site. Sometimes we're Googling to see what we see on the street.
Do they ever know what they're looking for when they come to you with these needs?
Sometimes they know what they need, and they're right. Some of these people, they have manipulators already.
Right.
They've rented from us before. It's always best we run through our checklist and make sure on our end we've covered the bases, because the last thing we want to do is sell somebody or rent somebody a unit that is incorrect, because it's a lot of wasted effort, time, and could cost money if the machine's on the job, and if it's coast to coast, it could be a big mistake. So we always try to cover those bases.
Once you get the specifics and you get that checklist of needs, how do you start to turn those into tangibles?
Well, our knowledge of what we have available first is where we go to. We just think, what do we have that would do this project?
Right.
What have we already built? If we've exhausted that, what do we need? Can we make that? And that happens still all the time.
So you do get to draw a little bit of inspiration from past solutions that you've built. It's not always totally from scratch.
No, it's actually less and less totally from scratch, because we keep adding to our arsenal of tools. You know, the toolbox gets bigger, and so many more solutions have been discovered, but there's new challenges coming along all the time.
So Don, I know you've been taking on a lot more responsibility here in the workshop, basically running it yourself now. So tell me a little bit about the process from beginning to end.
Step one, we'll come in, we'll discuss what we're going to do for the operation, then we'll take it to the computer. When we're on the computer, we'll do some drawings, figure out exactly what the customer wants, and then we'll go from there.
And how in-depth do you get with those designs?
We tend to make some changes as we need to go. We'll start with an idea, what the customer thinks they want, how we think we should do it. When it's all finished, it'll be nuts and bolts right on the computer. And then we can print out a bill of materials and send it right to our saw guy and go from there.
All right, John, we're at the milling station right now. Tell me what we're looking at here on the computer.
Well, we have a series of sub-assemblies. I'll take one of the parts to the sub-assembly and pull up a print for it. We'll get the parts cut. I'll put them in the machine, and I have programs I've already written that I can pull up on the screen, and I run the program. There's a spray coolant, keeps the tool cool and lubricated, and this part of this project is just drilling a series of holes.
And the software gets it down to the millimeter. It's very precise, I'm guessing.
It's in English, so it's thousands.
Thousands, okay, great.
Yes, it's very precise.
I notice it is a little greasy, it's a little oily. I'm guessing that's the coolant on top of it.
Yes, that's the coolant. Keeps the tool from wearing out, lubricates it, and keeps it cool.
All right, so you've got all these pieces of metal milled, they've got the right holes, now they need to actually be fabricated and put together into something that looks like a machine.
Right.
Break down that process for me.
So when the mill guy is done with his, he's gonna take that material he has with the drawings, bring them over here to our fab station. One of our guys is gonna check out the print, make sure he knows what he's gotta do, and then build it from there.
Once the machine is built, then do you paint all the pieces, or do you paint the pieces individually before you even begin to fabricate them?
No, we fabricate all the pieces, get them all cleaned up so they're nice and smooth, so nobody's gonna get cut or hurt on our machines. And then fit it, make sure it fits perfect, and then we'll send it to paint. So it all gets reassembled before it gets painted.
When do all the hydraulics and the electrical components get added in?
So we have someone who will assemble the whole machine from the ground up, put the tires on, put the motors on. And then once they get all that on, it'll go over to electric, and they'll add the panels and the wires go into different spots on the machine.
Sure.
And then it'll end finally in the hydraulic station.
So why does being made in America matter to your customers?
The advantage, of course, with working with a company that's right here in the USA is that we work hand in hand with you to develop a machine that is 100% to your spec. So you get a machine that is dedicated to your job, and it's also built in a timely fashion by people who you can actually come here and visit us and see the machine being built.
Your customers could also purchase some of these products similarly overseas.
Yes, in many ways there's a similar availability of machinery in different parts of the world. What makes us unique is the fact that we design and build it all right here in one place. So we have a special ability with our experience and years of doing this to evaluate somebody's situation, study the unique scenario that they're in, and actually provide a piece of machinery that's 100% built for that job.
Ergo Robotics is more than just the sum of its parts. It's a living embodiment of the place it calls home. The city of Glens Falls, vibrant as ever, has a rich history that still stands tall today. Alan Nudie braved the cold to tell us why that history is so important to Ergo and to the culture of the city.
This is a town that was brought up around the Finch Prine paper mill right across the Hudson here. And over the next 100 years, from the 1860s, the 1960s, the company grew a lot, and so did the town grow with it.
And I mean, a lot of the architecture that's around us has that rich history as well. I mean, just off to your left here, we've got the Armory, which I think was founded in 1895. At least that's what the placard says outside. So we've got at least 100 years of history in this building alone. You know, is this important to the culture of the town, having remnants of history like this?
It helps define who the history of the town, but what kind of brought us to be who we are as a town and as a region.
Queensbury predates the American Revolution, so there was a long, trivia-worthy history. I'm going to catch up and warm back up from the freezing cold with local historians Joan Aldis and Stan Sinfrano at a local coffee shop to see how this part of upstate New York has changed over time and how it has persisted for close to 300 years.
Well, this region was the center of the world almost during the French and Indian War back in the 1750s. The military road for the travel of the troops followed the waterways up the Hudson River And then there was this 8 miles between the river and Lake George, and that's where Glens Falls and Queensbury are located.
Just based on the history of the region and looking at where we're at today, how important do you think small businesses are to Queensbury and Glens Falls?
I think one thing that's happened and across the country probably is our mall is suffering because people would rather be downtown and shop the individual stores rather than the chains that kind of populate the malls. And that's one reason why things downtown are good at the present time.
And do you see kind of a business ecosystem between some of these kind of small businesses in downtown as well as more of the industrial small businesses that you see in the outskirts of the region, like Ergo Robotics, who we were interviewing earlier today?
Well, I think that Glens Falls and Queensbury is the area center. If you take out Albany and even kind of Saratoga, where there's a whole lot of big open space where people are living, but they need a center, and it happens to be here. So there's a lot of things bringing people to downtown, not just for the balloon festival, right, not just for the racing season, but year round.
The Adirondacks region came to prominence through hard work done by hand. And while workers may have traded in logging and lumber for robotics and hydraulics, that attention to detail and dedication still goes strong today.